We don't even pay for that.
Morning, everybody. Welcome to LOCPOD. We're rated 127th in Ghana, and we are up there in
the
Belgium.
Political subcategory. Remember?
In Belgium, we're doing pretty awesome. In America, still struggling. You know,
Are we?
I don't even think we're in the top
struggling,
127. I don't even think we're in the top 127.
I would say in Indiana we are.
You
In the
think
region, we're
Ghana's
number
a
one.
pretty small country, right? Am I right about this?
I mean, there's 126
small.
better podcasts. So.
But even in a smaller category, that's
in
the
the political
worst part.
subdivision.
That's the depressing part.
If we were 127th overall in Ghana,
There's a segment of Ghana that knows us.
Few
It talks
people.
about us daily. They're like, "Did you hear LOCPOD today?" And they're like, "What the hell is a LOCPOD?"
Like, the 127th rated
Don't you
political
listen?
subcategory
It's ranked
podcast.
127th in Ghana's political subdivision category.
what is an LOCPOD?
Just ask Jeff Long.
Hey, by the way, happy birthday, Joe.
Whoa, there's 31 million people in Ghana. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. That's awesome.
Happy-
I saw it on
happy,
Facebook.
happy.
I saw it on Facebook yesterday.
Yeah, it's not my birthday.
What?
It was on Facebook.
Well, it must be true then.
It's not?
It's not true.
Oh,
You're like
Didn't you send it?
364 off.
Did you send a happy birthday wish?
I did. It was embarrassing. I was wrong. I sent a happy birthday. I was like, oh, shit. I
Then he
missed
took
Joe's
it
birthday.
back.
I did take it back.
Oh, wow.
Took it
That's
back.
even worse.
It wasn't
I
like,
think.
ooh, save this for a couple months when it's real.
Right.
Nope. I
Just
took it
forget
back.
I sent it.
I revoked my offer.
I was about to say something that you can't say anymore.
What's that?
Yeah, I know
Don't
where
say
you
it.
were going.
Don't
Don't
you
do
take-
it.
When you take
Don't
something
do it.
back.
Oh, yeah. You can't
Oh.
say that.
Can't say
Don't
that
do it.
anymore.
You can't say that.
Yeah.
What is...
Yeah, there's a lot of things like we're just walking a minefield of just booby
And these
traps.
are things that like are in my brain from like when I was a kid.
I agree,
So
but
it's
like we're on a podcast with just freelancing here,
Right.
and then like, what if you said that? We'd be screwed.
Canceled.
I'd
Well,
have to fire you.
Native Americans would have an issue, so I didn't say it.
Then don't.
How do you feel about this woke world?
I will not. Just it's a
It's-
minefield.
It's nice
For older guys
I guess
like
it's
me.
nice
It's
because
nice. It's pleasant.
well, whatever, John. You know, like it's not nice when people say mean jokes, right?
That's right.
There's
That we grew up thinking we're okay.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up in the 60s and 70s, it was rough, man. It was rough if you were LGBTQ. It was rough if you were overweight. It was rough if you were,
Probably a Native American,
African American,
African-
Native
sure.
American, Hispanic. It was rough.
So
And
basically, if you weren't a white guy,
basically,
You weren't a white guy.
if you weren't a white male when I grew up, it was pretty rough.
it's still pretty rough under
I
those
bet
standards.
I was going to say it. I'm sure it is.
So like,
We're
yeah.
trying to make it better.
So like, I remember, I grew up in Northern California and obviously in the San Francisco Bay Area where they had commercials that were constantly programming, and I used to watch like Channel 9, which
Sure.
is like Sesame Street and all
WGN
that, right?
Oh, 9.
Well,
Now
back
here it's
where
11,
I was,
right?
where
Wow.
I was, it was like that was the channel that showed Sesame Street,
Got it.
Electric Company, all that stuff.
11 here.
And I remember they would have these commercials that they'd run, and they were based out of San Francisco, so it was like programming little people like me to say, Chinese American, to say African American.
Even then?
when I was young.
See, California's always ahead of the times.
They are ahead. And by the way, it's something that we all say now, and it's the proper way to address, different groups now. But like back then, they would call them, people from those races, people, other things, and it would often be derogatory. And we, back in those days, people would make fun of each other. And I remember, and I talk about this on the campaign trail. I had an uncle that was LGBTQ back in the day, and they were mean to him. They were very mean to him. They would do it right in front of me. I would be walking around with my uncle, and they would say things to him that were devastating. And you just don't hear it nowadays.
Right.
So, like, going back to the woke world that John was just talking about, I think it's a nicer world. Whether you like it or not, I think
Kinder.
it's nicer. It is kinder. I mean,
Tries to be.
I don't know. What do you think, John?
Well, what do you think about in this instance where you look at Kevin, by all accounts, there's not a racist bone in his body, a biased bone in his body, and he almost said 2 words that you can't say anymore. I mean,
Right.
You wouldn't cancel someone for that. I mean, it's just a slip-up.
Right, it's a
It
slip
is.
up. And
But-
I feel,
but
and
for
I
a guy-
feel bad for saying it, I
For
guess.
a guy, you didn't say it, first off.
Right.
Secondly,
you didn't say it.
Because you were aware enough not to say it.
Yeah.
Secondly, you're a guy that's 52 years old, because I know how old you are. And we come from a generation. And, like, how often have you been at, like, Thanksgiving dinner with Uncle John or something like that? Uncle John says something that's
always-
totally
it's
inappropriate.
it's always the uncle.
And you always be like, God damn, Uncle John sucks, right? Like, but then you're like, man, Uncle John's 80. And when Uncle John was a kid, they used to say these kinds of things.
Right.
And it's not appropriate now, right? But back then, like,
I wonder what the cutoff for, like, he's just old. He doesn't know any better.
I think if John
Like,
says
what's
something,
that
one.
age?
John or Jill says something inappropriate, I don't think it's appropriate because
Right.
you didn't.
They know
I think
better.
if Kevin says that word about
I'm on
somebody
the-
that pulls something back, I think that you would probably be sort of excused.
Right.
They'd be strongly warned. You may get a bad newspaper article.
Yeah.
I'd probably dock you a couple days pay just to throw it in.
Shows.
I gotta cover my ass too.
You're off
know
a
what I'm
LOCPOD
saying?
for 2 shows. You've been suspended.
Oh, that'd be great.
I've given down
Kevin's suspended.
There's been some discipline from the locomotive.
That would be a great episode. Kevin's suspended
Kevin's
for
in the
statements made
penalty
on
box.
episode 4, season 23, or season 4, episode 23.
There's been nothing Tom said that should get him suspended.
No, I'm the star of the show, dude. Like, I mean, what are we gonna do?
You get a fine.
Marissa suspends
Fine.
Tom.
That's all I need.
Only
Goddamn
Marissa
fine.
can suspend you.
That's right. By the way, we still haven't discussed like how I'm going to pay my stupid tax bill from LOCPOD. I'm getting taxed, Joe.
Steve.
I'm getting tax bills from LOCPOD.
I
What
saw
the hell?
Steve Kellogg
We
got
could do
a
a
check
car
last
wash.
month.
We could do a
Oh,
car.
car wash is a great idea.
See, that's why Jill's here.
LOCPOD
That's
car
a-
wash.
She
I will
comes
go.
up with great ideas on
That
her
is
birthday.
a good one.
We'll have Steve
Oh, no,
in like some very
yeah.
skimpy clothes.
Oh my god, sexy.
All right,
In the
that's
winter.
it.
Well,
Steve,
anyway, happy non-birthday, Jill.
I want my tax bill.
And a-
I'm going on strike. We only have 2 episodes left. The strike talk does not work when you only have 2
No.
episodes left in
You
the
just
season.
go ahead, suspend me.
Do we have 2? So we have today.
Today, no, Friday and Tuesday,
Tuesday.
and then we're off for the holidays.
So hold it. 1 week from
Today will
Thursday.
be our last of season 4.
No, 1 week
Yes.
from today.
1 week.
Yeah,
1 week
from
from
today.
today. Whoa.
Yes.
Thank God.
Enjoy it, LOCPODers.
Thank God.
You're not going to need to worry about us for a little bit.
We got hundreds of hours of material out there, and I'm sure there's people out there that are bumming that we won't be here for a couple
All
weeks.
right. That's when you listen to your subscription.
That's right.
Listen
Go
to the
back.
old stuff.
Go back and listen. We put.
See if we offended anyone during the last
we
100.
have. We put hundreds of hours of offensive material out there for you to review. So like, just go through and enjoy. There's plenty of reasons.
There you
It'd
go.
be good background
Young.
for Thanksgiving.
What's
Just
that?
put it on the background during your Thanksgiving.
Yes, during Thanksgiving dinner, just LOCPOD
LOCPOD
in the
Thanksgiving.
background in the
Yeah.
kitchen.
Like
Yeah.
we're talking about Uncle Joe while Uncle Joe is saying
Yes.
racist
Uncle Joe's
stuff.
like, what the hell?
Why'd you bring me up on the pod?
Oh man, dude, I ate one the other day.
Uh-oh.
Really?
Oh yeah, man. Dang, it was uncomfortable. I cannot even go into the story. Let's just say I roasted somebody in a previous episode, and that
Yes.
person like sort of confronted me yesterday.
Oh, wow. All right.
Wait, you
Gulp.
can't just bring that up and not talk about it.
It was the episode about the Bears game.
Oh, I didn't watch that one.
No,
It
was it?
No, I probably didn't.
Oh, I thought it
I think
was
you were
the,
in here, by
I
the
thought
way.
it was the episode.
It really made an impact on
I
you.
thought it would have been the episode with the N word.
No,
Oh,
no, this was the episode
because that was
the,
really
the
confronting
episode with the
someone.
Bears game.
All right.
Well, we've
Yeah.
talked about lots of Bears.
Listen,
games.
man, I'm not going there because I'm not going to offend this person anymore than I already
You brought
did.
it up. All right.
I
Maybe
did bring
an
it up,
apology
but like
segment.
Oh,
I
Tom's
can't
apology.
because if I do, it'll just further
All
expose.
right. Fair enough.
I'm done. Like I
Maybe
have to
this
move
guy
on.
doesn't deserve an apology.
But like, not only am I getting shit from people because I'm, of what I say in here, I'm also getting tax bills, and I'm pissed about this, man. This is not right. I think we need to unionize LOCPOD.
I'm with
and-
you, Tom.
We're gonna have like labor strife
Wait a
because
minute. You're the locomotive. We
Steve
get to
is the guy.
unionize.
right.
You're the
No,
locomotive.
dude,
You're like,
I'm
it's
an
like you
employee.
and
He's the
Steve.
man.
Really, I'm not the man. I'm the minority owner. If you look at
not-
the
He's
paperwork,
the man.
It's not.
I am the
Steve, is
minority
it?
owner in this venture. By the way, you guys are the man.
I think Steve is
union.
the man.
Listen, Jill.
Actually,
I think Steve is the man too.
So we strike against Steve.
yes.
I mean, I've seen Steve once.
Steve,
Yeah,
as of next
he just comes in, like drops stuff off, collects
why
a
he's the
paycheck, and
man.
moves on. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I think we need to unionize the four
All
of
right.
us.
Maybe we'll go on
And we'll
strike
throw
after
Lindsay.
next Tuesday's episode.
We'll throw the notorious LMP in there, and we're going to demand first thing. I want my damn paycheck for the tax bill.
I vote
just
for
got.
Lindsay. Lindsay could be the toughest one in the group. I vote Lindsay
Can be.
to be. I vote Lindsay to be our representative, our union rep.
She's
Yeah.
pretty busy right now.
She's super busy. And
I
she's
know.
super
Add it on.
tired.
Add it
so-
on the list.
Yeah, right.
Or
All right.
griever.
So let's. We're thinking seriously about unionizing here.
Wow.
Believe
Didn't
it
We're
or
work.
not,
pro-union,
chat.
so
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Hey,
is all unscripted.
by the way, LOCPOD,
Here we are.
front page Indie Star again. Badass.
really, LOCPOD
LOCPOD.
in the news.
front page Indie Star. Well, it was an article that started on the front
Maybe
page.
that gives us bigger leverage.
And
for
then it went to
striking.
page like A6. I think we were actually on A6
All
or
right,
A7.
A6.
But we were in the Indie Star in an article that was on page 1.
There you go.
LOCPOD in the news.
Well, and that article was.
It said left of center podcast. Dude, I'm not doing this. Like, I've teed you up for you.
so.
Teed you up.
Thank you. Here we go
Yeah.
with my driver. So the Indiana Democratic Party came out Monday morning, Chairman Mike Schmuel and others talking about the fact that the Democratic Party in Indiana is going to take on the issue of legalization of marijuana and decriminalization of marijuana. And I thought Chairman Schmuel's kind of quote was appropriate. He said, "We want to be the party in Indiana that really takes the lead on this issue. I think we've seen the impact that legalization and medicinal use has made on the states around us, and we're losing out. I think Indiana is behind on this issue."
2 weeks ago, this is also in the article, 2 weeks ago, Democratic U.S. Senate candidate Thomas McDermott Jr. pledged he would work to legalize marijuana nationwide if he gets elected. The Hammond mayor also admitted on his Left of Center podcast that he smoked marijuana at a recent Grateful Dead show at Wrigley Field, the Times of Northwest Indiana reported.
There we are in the news.
LOCPOD in the news.
That's awesome. And Chairman Schmuel also said it's a really popular issue. I think people want to see this get done. And so if Democrats can take the lead on it, even being in the minority, that's great. And we're going to try to get as many Republicans on our side as we do it. So, Mayor Tom, I guess the question I have, and maybe you can tell our listeners the difference here, is that you've talked about like federal legalization and then you have like state legalization.
Right.
So what's why is that important?
Well, issues like this. The person that owns Mission South Shore Dispensaries. It's a chain in Chicago. I'm just using this as an example because he's reached out to me recently and I've reached out to him, which is interesting because I imagine people in that industry want to see a guy like me get elected because when they get their marijuana payments, it's in cash.
And it's legal in Illinois. This is
it's
an
legal
Illinois
in
dispensary.
Illinois. All right. It's been recognized in Illinois as legal. It's been voted on by the voters of Illinois as legal. So when you go into these dispensaries and you buy whatever you buy, you pay in cash. Well, everybody paying cash has a tendency to drive up your cash balances. And these places will have, I think it's safe to say, hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash sitting there at all times. And the problem is they can't put that money into the U.S. banking system because it's federally illegal. So they literally pay their employees in cash. They have to do everything in cash just to get rid of the cash that's coming in.
And I've heard some of them have to send it to Canada, to Canadian banks.
And which, by the way, it's legal in Canada nationwide now, so that's a good option for them. But think about that. You're crippled as a business. It's a thriving business. It's exploding in size. It's hiring tons of people. And here we are in Indiana. Like I said, an article in last week's paper about 3 people that went, from Illinois. They came from Chicago Heights. They had marijuana in their car. They drive through Indiana, get pulled over, and get arrested. All 3 of them. And they're in our criminal justice system, facing crimes for something they bought legally 10 miles to the west.
So instead of this patchwork kind of situation that you have now, federal legalization would kind of be able to say you wouldn't have those criminal issues,
right,
state to state.
By the way, Governor Holcomb was asked about this in the same article. Governor Holcomb said that despite admitting to smoking marijuana before, he wouldn't support legalization until federal law changes, at which point Indiana could review it. He reiterated his stance during his re-election campaign in 2020, and he said, I've taken a couple oaths in my lifetime, one when I was in the United States Navy and another when I was sworn into office, he said, referring to oaths of office to uphold the U.S. Constitution. I don't have the luxury of picking and choosing which laws to legalize at the state level while they are illegal at the federal level.
I think that's a little, I think it's a little bit of a cop-out.
It is a cop-out.
Because there's a lot of governors that have...
2/3 of the states of the United States of America, 2/3 of the states have
Republican and Democratic states that you would think of as, think of like South Dakota, I think, North Dakota, Mississippi.
Right.
Have
I don't know if that's true.
So.
I know.
Yeah, no, Mississippi for sure.
Right. Like a lot of states I visit just coincidentally. I go skiing a lot in Colorado. Coincidentally, I go skiing a lot in California. I have friends in California. I have a place up in Michigan where I go skiing also. All legal places,
Yes, that's why I guess the way I look at it is Indiana's missing out on a lot of revenue. This patchwork regulation makes it confusing for people, especially if you live near the state line, like you gave that example. And it just seems like, get it done so it's just simple. And by the way,
how many cases, can I interrupt real quick?
Yeah, sure,
how many cases in our criminal justice system are clogged up with bullshit cases like the ones of the 3 people from Chicago Heights? That takes the judge's time. That takes the prosecutor's time. They go to jail. It takes our jail space. It uses taxpayer money. It's just a huge loss.
Because in Indiana, it's still a misdemeanor.
For having a freaking plant in your car. It's a plant. It grew in the ground, and then it was rolled into a joint or whatever, and then they had the audacity to drive that plant into Indiana. It's so ludicrous. It's so stupid. It's like, take a step back, and that's what we're talking about here. This isn't heroin. This isn't stuff, that kills people.
Yeah, poppy plants are a little different, right? If we're growing heroin, we're not talking
people
about
are dying from heroin.
Yeah.
I've never heard, and I've been, aware of the plant of marijuana my entire life. I grew up in Northern California, so this is not a foreign substance to me, right? I've never in my entire life, I've known thousands, tens of thousands of people that have used this plant. I've never heard of one person dying. Not one time.
Yeah.
Can anybody?
No.
Anybody ever hear?
And think about alcohol.
I overdosed on
alcohol.
Of how many people
do we know? Right.
Or drove in? How many people do we know that killed themselves with weed? Does anybody? Please chat. Does anybody know of anybody that smoked so much weed they freaking died? No.
Wow.
I would challenge anybody to come up with that. Like,
I'm so stoned I died.
Well, if you were like wasted and you drove your car into a wall or something
We're
like
not talking
that.
about that.
Well, that is the death by weed, I guess.
Sure,
but
I'm
like,
talking about like by
overdose.
ingesting
I
it.
overdosed on weed and
Yeah,
died.
I don't know.
I don't think it's possible. I just don't think it's possible. So I think it's time for us
Where's
to move
Dr.
past
Forright
this.
to let us know?
Dr. Forright would confirm me. I know he would. It's time for us to move on. In America, and especially in the state of Indiana, it's time for us to stop treating this plant like it's heroin, because it's not. It's time to treat it like it's alcohol, because that's really what's close.
Well, and what I was going to say earlier, Tom, was that it's interesting that like the federal government isn't, and I don't mean just Biden administration. I'm talking like the Trump administration too. They're not enforcing it.
No, I agree.
They're not like going around and saying, "Oh, it's federally illegal."
I'm telling you right now. I hope Joe Biden's listening, Kevin.
Maybe
Okay,
he
Joe?
is.
Obviously, he is.
Well, we know Buttigieg is listening because he's a fan. We're fans, right? So, Pete, could you tell this to your
Mayor
boss?
Joe, at least.
This is it. I'm going to tell you how Biden gets reelected easily. He's going to nationalize. He's going to legalize marijuana at the national level.
Got to get it through the.
You
Congress.
bust it out, they'll get it through because that's an issue that'll bring everybody out. Do it, Joe. And you won't have to worry about the midterm washout that we're hearing about. Legalize weed, President Joe. I'm not bullshitting, man. This is how everybody is predicting like everybody I talk to, Joe, I go around and they're like, you're going to get your ass kicked next year. Well, why? Because I think I'm a great candidate. No, Mayor, you are a great candidate, but people hate Joe Biden and what's going on in America so much. This is what I'm hearing. This isn't how I feel. They hate it so much that you're going to get punished as a Democrat. Even though you're a great candidate, even though you're a better candidate than Todd Young, just the fact that people aren't happy about what's going on nationally, you're going to lose, Mayor Tom.
Because they're saying like you're on this team and I'm on this team.
I hear this way too often. It's depressing. I wanted to jump off a bridge yesterday. Kevin knows that. He talked me back. So did Marissa. Okay? But the fact is, that's what I hear, right? You want to change everything, Joe Biden, President Joe? Legalize weed. And I guarantee you the kids will show up. I guarantee you it changes everything. It changes everything. If they legalize weed at the national level, he would be a hero, and we will win as a party. This is the path forward. Chairman Mike Schmuel, Indiana Democratic Party, is right. This is the path forward. As a party, we need to embrace it and legalize it across the country. That's where I'm coming from.
Interesting, Mayor. I think it's definitely a platform that the Democrats, I think, should take charge of, because to me, it is a issue that goes across party lines. I mean, you could see it passing in conservative states.
Kevin, will it pass in Congress, this bill?
Yes.
It would, because the Democrats would vote for it.
There's some Republicans that
there is
probably
Republicans that'll come over and vote for it. And then Joe, even if Joe doesn't agree, President Biden probably doesn't personally approve because he's of the older generation. Usually, if I asked my dad how he felt about this, he'd be like, I hate it, Mayor. And I imagine your parents probably feel the same. Right? Your parents, guys?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Oh,
My mom-
whoa, we're partying at Joe's
Listen,
house.
Joe, my mom straight up smokes it. Okay, she does. She lives in California, for the record. For those of you that are getting outraged, my mom smokes, and I don't think my mom would have a problem with me saying that because it's legal.
We'll find out. She'll say in chat.
Yeah,
now.
sure. Sorry, Mom. Love you. All right. So I think that Joe Biden, even though he probably personally doesn't approve, I think he wants the Democrats to do well in 2 years. I think he wants us to stop arresting people for this plant. President Biden, please, I'm begging you. This is the path forward so that we don't lose a bunch of seats in the midterms next year. This is the path forward for the National Democratic Party. This is the path forward for the Indiana Democratic Party. And I tell you what, it's the right thing to do.
All right. LOCPOD in the news.
Well, let's see if we made more news.
All right. Let's do some ads.
Let's do some ads. Go ahead and start. I called Dodie. Dodie said she wanted you back.
Oh, I can read now.
I think
All
I went over the
Thank
top.
you, Dodie.
Yeah.
Powering America is our premier sponsor. Season 4 is powered by our premier sponsor, Powering America. With the explosive growth of renewable energy in America today, call Powering America to meet your needs. For renewable energy in your home or office, including electric vehicle chargers and solar-powered solutions, trust the electrical professionals of
Powering America.
Visit poweringnorthwestindiana.org. No pow, nothing, John?
Pow.
I was looking at chat.
Okay.
How we doing?
Pow.
We got them going?
Great.
Everyone's excited. Keep it going.
Someone's listening from Key West right now.
Oh, hello, Key West.
I love Key West. I visited Key West twice when I was in the submarine, and then I fell in love with it. And
I'm trying to remember what's the state road that goes down from Miami?
Highway 1?
Because I always get it mixed up with Pacific Coast Highways. Highway
No, 101. 101.
101 is PCH.
I think Highway 1 is Key
All right,
West.
Highway 1.
I don't know, but
I think you're right.
It's an awesome drive. Marissa and I did that 2 years ago, right before the
Over the
pandemic.
bridge. What do they call it? Not the bridge.
It's a
Is it a
bridge.
Yeah.
I call it a bridge.
All right.
Yeah.
I thought it had a nice little name.
I call it
You
a
probably
bridge.
have like a
That's
technical
the
name
title.
for it. And actually, it's called the structural.
Boy.
I love Kevin.
I thought some binocular manufacturer would send me a new set of binoculars.
That was funny.
But I got nothing yet.
We're in the 100 section. Try Electronics. Try Electronics wants to be your complete communications provider. Try Electronics has been a leader in this industry for more than 55 years. We are dedicated to assisting our clients with their systems integration needs. We have the expertise and experience to provide superior results for a wide variety of projects. For more information, call Try Electronics today at 1-800-722-6793. Could I interrupt real quick? I was asked
Go right ahead.
if somebody asked in the article, are you really proud? Like, it seems like when you came out, the Democratic Party has seized upon that, and I was asked that, and I said, listen, there was people definitely before me. Karen Talian, for sure, right?
Oh, without a doubt.
Right.
Karen has been doing it for years.
She did it when it was, whoa, like,
Yeah.
what are you doing, Karen? I remember the first time she
was
did it, I'm
she
like,
was
wow.
the trailblazer, I
right?
think. Yeah.
No doubt about it. But another one that we all forget about is the prosecutor from Marion County. Is it Ryan Mears?
Oh, I forgot about that.
That was a big
too.
deal, and that was a couple years ago. He stopped
Prosecuting
crimes of people with marijuana, and
Misdemeanor.
that was a big
Possession.
deal. Possession. Yeah, but which is a huge number of cases. I was a public defender. That was a huge number of cases I did. Possession of marijuana.
There you go.
There you go. He's another trailblazer.
Look at you guys.
I think I'm a blazer of trails a little bit, but these guys were definitely
a blazer of other kind.
a blazer of trails. Yeah, right.
a blazer.
Well, I
up.
admit it, only
Fill in the blank.
only at Grateful Dead shows in Wrigley Field, or
Asterisk.
in Colorado, or in California where it's legal,
Or in Michigan.
or in Michigan where it's legal, but never in the Hoosier State because it's illegal in the Hoosier State.
Grizzolius Concrete was
I
voted
was like,
number
shut
one
up, Mayor.
in the Times Best of the Region 2020 and 2021. Grizzolius Concrete specializes in all of your concrete projects, and they've been using the original cement finish in the
California style.
since 1972, and also offers stamped and colored concrete. For more information or a project quote, call Grizzolius Concrete at 219-659-4127.
Midwest Air Duct Cleaning. At Midwest Air Duct Cleaning, your health is our number one priority. We are dedicated at Midwest Air Duct Cleaning to providing top-notch quality services at an affordable price. Our technicians at Midwest Air Duct Cleaning have been trained to shelter the members of your household from potential airborne contaminants. If you would like more information from Midwest Air Duct Cleaning on how to protect the lungs of your home, contact Marinko from Midwest Air Duct Cleaning and his team at 219-671-8868 today.
Calumet Brewery wants to tell you about Michelob Ultra. Michelob Ultra is a superior light beer with only 2.6 carbs and 95 calories, all while being one of the fastest growing brands in the region. Or try Ultra Pure Gold, an organic light lager with only 2.5 carbs and 85 calories, brewed for your healthy lifestyle. Enter to win a Michelob Ultra snowblower
Snowblower. Yeah.
through calbrew.com.
It's a person. You win a person to come shovel.
Check out Cal Brew's Facebook page for details.
You have to put them up in your garage, though. That's the
For the winter?
Yeah,
Stay warm in here.
that's right. Hey,
All right.
I want
Thank you to our sponsors.
thank you to our sponsors.
Power in America, our premier sponsor. POW.
I started a couple weeks ago talking about a situation of a person I knew in California that was considering the right to die with dignity path forward in California, which is, for those of you that weren't listening to that show, it is basically a measure approved by California voters. I'm not even sure when. It was recently, though, that allows people with terminal illnesses to die legally. To commit suicide
By their own hand, I think.
to commit suicide, not physician assisted. It's literally they're allowed to prescribe you medicine that'll put you to sleep, and while you're sleeping, it'll kill you. Sounds to me like a fentanyl type of sleep, where one of the things about people that ingest too much fentanyl is they stop breathing because their body literally forgets to breathe. It sounds very peaceful the way this is supposed to go down. But I was shocked because we talked about it a little on the show, and I was being very careful not to reveal who it is, and I'm still going to be very careful to let you know. It is through a family connection, and as everybody knows, I have a big family in California, but a person that I care about a lot, has made the decision on Friday to take the medicine that will,
this Friday.
that will kill them.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be tough on you and your family, and I just couldn't believe it, and you're going to read this in a second.
I'm not going to read it.
You're not going to
I
read
don't think it's appropriate.
Okay,
I think I could just talk generally. I don't think it's
Sure.
appropriate. Yeah. But Friday the 19th, the hospice MD is going to come to their home and give them the drug cocktail that's going to put them to sleep. This is, and this person has myeloma.
Multiple myeloma.
Multiple myeloma. which I believe is a blood disease.
I want to say it was the same thing that Colin Powell had, if I'm not mistaken. Multiple myeloma.
Really?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And this person is familiar through their career with chemotherapy and patients that are recovering from cancer, so they're very aware of the pain and the effort it's going to take to get through this, and they just don't want to go through it. And, you know, I could tell you this person is a super strong-willed person, very smart, you know, like very strong, obviously, and they're just like very like mathematical about there's no way for them to recover. I'm saying them. I'm not using pronouns. I don't want anybody to get any, but like they're very strong and they're like, listen, it's not for me. I want to go out on my own terms, strong, you know, and their chances, if they go through chemo, they could get another 10 years if they go through chemo and everything goes right. But to get through chemo is probably a year of fighting. And if things go right, they got probably another, you know, they could go up to another decade, but this person is not interested in that route. And in California, they make you go through therapy with 2 different doctors.
Like counseling type of thing.
To talk about this procedure. And the doctors have to literally give you permission. Yeah, I agree with you, or assessment of the situation, basically.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's hard to, I think, criticize or judge somebody that's in that situation because that's their situation, and everybody has to make their own decision. I don't know what decision I'd make if I was in that situation.
You and Marissa, I think we've talked a little bit. I've talked with both of you about it. Obviously, it's happening in my family, so I talked to both of you, and both of you are very good Catholics, you know, and both of you feel strongly, I think, how the church feels, right? The church wants you to continue to fight and to use, you know.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I guess
God is in charge of death, right?
Kind of like, you know, I think the church's position is usually that, you know, God will decide when you're going to die, and you shouldn't have any. I mean, I get that. I mean, that's the church's position.
The thing is, you have to do extraordinary medical intervention for this person to live. So, like, is that what God anticipated?
That's why I would never criticize.
You would be in pain for years. That's the thing, is like sometimes our church is behind the times. We've said this many times before, and I think this is another example of our church that just doesn't react quickly enough to modern medical, you know.
I don't think the church looks at timelines. I think the church lives in centuries.
But,
you know?
like,
and I'm not saying right or
let's
wrong.
talk a century ago, this person wouldn't be alive.
Sure.
This person would have died a while ago, excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay? If it was a century ago. If it was 100 years ago.
Treatment,
if it was 100 years ago, this person would have died 20 years
50 years ago.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, like, the fact is the church needs to adapt to, you know, change their philosophies, I guess, unless we're just going to be like a church of a century ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think the church just operates in they don't look at, I think they look at millennia, not necessarily.
Well, I think you
decades.
and my bride feel the same way about this issue.
Well, and at the same time, though, I would never judge or criticize the person either. It's their decision.
Of course.
You know, so
it's very sad. I'm going to miss this person a lot. I'm very, very respectful of how they're going out. I think it's badass.
Yeah, I think
man.
giving that person the option is...
You're just like...
Yeah,
tipping your cap. Like,
it's sad.
Adios, everybody. It's totally sad. It's a tragedy.
It's knowing the date of your death, which I think is very hard for our brains to wrap around.
Totally.
You know, I am going to die this Friday. The only people that really know that are people on death row.
God, dude.
You know, and that's it, right? I mean, you know that here's your date of your execution.
Jill, what do you think? Crazy, right?
It's nuts. I mean, there's nothing worse than watching someone you care about waste away, and they're not the same person. So, I mean,
that's also true.
Yeah, I think it's a good option. Like, if you can choose to do what you want and take control of how you want to go out, then do it.
It's not like asthma we're talking about. It's got to be like a terminal disease.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
you
that's
have
why
no
you
chance
said the
of
medical
recovery.
professionals have to sign off.
Yeah,
on
the medical. If you went in and the medical professionals are like, dude, you're not going to die from this.
This
There's no
cold
way
is not going to kill
you.
you.
I'm not going to sign off on this. It doesn't make sense, right? Or maybe if you lost a leg or something, right?
Sure.
Let's say something traumatic like that. I lost my leg and I don't want to live anymore. I can't hardly walk and I have to learn all over again, or maybe even like a brain injury where I can't talk or something, or I'm blind, right? Like, those are not the reasons to do this. It has to be something that you cannot recover from.
Well, I had a friend whose parent had a terrible accident and became a quadriplegic. And I remember when...
I tell you, I would want to in that case.
Well, that's what happened. This person's parent wanted to just like, please, let me die, let me die. And he had done some reading. He's a medical professional that said, like, if you get this person through the first so many days, there's a change in their perception of life. And it was true. And he was the only one that was saying, we need to keep him alive. And it ended up where he lived another decade.
Really?
He had, I mean, obviously that's not a great situation.
No, man, it sucks.
But there was a lot of joy that he got to
Right.
see his first grandchild. He got to see
I get
his
it.
son get married. I
Right.
mean, things like that. So, I mean, I
But
think
he wasn't in pain, though, right?
well, I don't think
This person in California
have
is in
Yeah,
pain.
no, and I'm
Right.
just saying. I was using that as an example. You said like where situations
Right.
where you would think, oh, well,
Right.
let him. You may not. You know.
I agree.
Yeah, and so I think that's why the counseling and the medical outlook or situation is good. That you have to have doctor sign off.
Like if you couldn't walk or, man,
Yeah,
that'd
I
be
mean,
rough.
yeah,
But like
so-
you still get to see your kids grow up. You're not in pain.
Right.
They
This is a situation were this person
Yes.
is in extreme pain and it's a terminal illness. Yeah.
And there's no chance of recovery.
Yeah. It's
The only chance of recovery is to go through this option of basically a year of throwing up, a year of losing your hair, a year of being weak and sleeping. It's like, and if it goes right, then maybe you got a couple more years.
and it sounds like they've been through it already.
And they're this
Multiple
person
times.
is smart and like from the medical arena. They know what the future holds for them if they have to go through this process. They know exactly what it is. They're very aware. It's not like, I don't want to get the COVID shot. It's like this person knows what's in front of them if they choose this route, and they don't want to go that route.
And I would assume that's another thing that the medical professionals that sign off on this have to do. Like they're of sound mind. They've gone through it, right? So,
For sure.
Yeah.
I think it's a great law. I tell you, a lot of people bang on California. I think California, and you said it earlier, when they were teaching us as 5-year-old kids in
Yeah.
California to say African American and Chinese American, right? I think California is way out in front on this, and I think this is the type of thing 100 years from now will be common in America.
Well,
But right now, it's like blows our mind. But in 100 years from now, it'll be common in America.
And you mentioned, Mayor Tom, that it's very common in Europe already.
Yeah,
So.
right, because it's the right way to go. It really is. I don't want to waste away. So anyway, that's very sad. I'm going to miss this person a lot. And, I
Friday.
respect them. Wow.
Yeah.
Just blows my mind.
Yep.
Hey, we had you were involved yesterday in a conference regarding the lawsuit that I filed against the state of Indiana Judicial Nominating Commission.
Yeah, you filed against Lake County GNC, right?
Right.
The state
But the state of Indiana
has been in the Attorney General's office.
The Attorney
is
General is
case.
defending the case, so it feels like our main defendant, even though it is the JNC. But the local JNC wants us to win this, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, talk about the case a little bit and why what was filed.
In Indiana, I want to get the percentages right. You have them. Approximately 61% of African American citizens in Indiana. No, see, I wasn't ready to jump in right now.
I'm sorry. Well, I mean, the point is that in Indiana, 88 counties vote for their judges.
Right.
4 counties do not vote for their
The
judges.
4 counties where they do not vote for their judges are counties that have high concentrations of African Americans and Hispanic populations. So this is the percentage I was looking for. 82% of white residents in Indiana get to vote for their judges. Okay? And what's the number of 61% of African Americans in Indiana have to go through a process called the JNC, Judicial Nominating Commission, which basically gives the governor the power to appoint your judges. So in Indiana, if you're African American, it's far more likely that your judges aren't elected by you. They're appointed by Governor Holcomb and this panel that the legislature just put together, which is basically given all
Which
the
is
power
unelected.
of appointment to the governor. And what we're saying in this lawsuit is let's do it the right way. Why are we singling out high concentration of minority communities and not allowing them to vote for their judges? I think, and the reason we filed this lawsuit, and I want to thank Attorney Eduardo Fontanez, who has a law office in Northwest Indiana as well, the law office of Eduardo Fontanez. I want to thank him for being a co-plaintiff in this case with me and filing this case saying, let's just do it. First off, I think it's a violation of the U.S. Constitution. I think we're going to win on that. It's a federal case.
I mean, yeah, it's really to me the meat of it is under the Voting Rights Act and Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, and it's going to be really interesting because I think that part of it is really something that the court's going to have to look at. And what's pending right now and why this has become in the news is that Judge Boswell passed away, a great judge and wonderful woman, passed away a couple weeks ago. And
Friend of both of ours.
Yeah, and I knew her forever. Knew her when she was in the prosecutor's office. Her son Alger, I mean, obviously our prayers and thoughts are with him. She when her seat became vacant, that kind of pushed the envelope because now the newly constituted JNC, which the governor just appointed his members, I think a week or two ago, has to make a decision on who's going to fill that spot.
Right.
And so that's why the lawyers that represent you and Mr. Fontanez in the city filed for an injunction saying, like, wait, you need to judge, you need to decide this injunction situation first so that nobody, and I think that was the tone of the call yesterday, that nobody wanted, the court, especially Judge Simon, didn't want to waste anybody's time.
Right.
And say, let's get a decision. Let's see. And they're trying to do a briefing schedule now. So that's where we're at on that.
So basically, we're trying to make it consistent across the state of Indiana on how you elect your judges. It shouldn't be high concentration of minority communities shouldn't have to go through the JNC process when you're allowing Porter County, our neighbor, to elect our judges.
Yeah, if you live in Portage, you get to vote for your judges. You must be a smart enough voter. But if you live in Lake Station, you can't.
Exactly. Right next door neighbors to each other, right? So in Lake Station, sorry, suckers, you guys aren't smart enough to elect your judges in Lake Station. But over here in Portage, everybody's just fine, right? Mm-hmm. And by the way, what that does to attorneys also, like what if Kevin Smith wanted to be a judge in Lake County? You have no chance because there's no way in hell Governor Holcomb's going to appoint you. Why? Because you're a Democrat. We don't do that kind of thing, appoint Democrats, right? But if Kevin ran in Lake County for judge, I have a strong feeling you would win and you would be a judge, which gives you a whole other career path that you've never thought about because you're a Democrat. And Democrats can't be judges, Kevin.
Well, it's some of the interesting thing also I've heard in that is like, oh, well, it's because those are where all the big population centers are. But that doesn't work anymore because Hamilton County now is just as populous as Lake, or
it's
almost close to Allen. I mean,
it's getting close to Lake,
right?
Because it's got
St. Joe,
it's got Fishers, it's got Carmel, it's got Westfield,
absolutely,
Zionsville.
So they're actually up there in population, but they don't have a JNC. And I think you said this at some point. You said, "Look, let's just make it the same. It's either going to be all voting, or just make everybody have a JNC."
Right.
Well, why have two systems?
It's because it's for discriminatory reasons, Kevin.
Well,
that's why they have two systems.
Right?
That is the allegation. Is the reason we have it. And I'm not saying this is like Governor Holt. The fact is they keep tinkering with it and making it worse, though. Making it so that it's even more of just a lackey position for the governor. They just tweaked it this year. When I say they, it's Representative Aylesworth, one of the dumbest reps in the State House. You know, this guy has not a clue about how the law works. He has a clue about the judges. It's just a machine politician.
Well, I thought the funny thing about that whole thing was when he said, "Oh, well, the governor asked me to float this bill," and the governor was like, "I didn't ask you to float this bill."
Because the governor knows why are you messing with the system that's rigged already. No. You're like, Aylesworth, you dummy. This is what the governor's thinking. You dumbass. Like, you're bringing attention to a rigged system. It's a rigged system, and the Republicans win every time, and you're making it even more rigged. Like, why are you messing with the rigged system, Aylesworth? That's what the governor's probably saying, and Ellsworth too dumb to get the clue.
Yeah, and the other thing I would say is that, it has nothing to do, I don't think, and you've said this, and I agree with this, it has nothing to do with whether or not we've gotten good judges. We do have a great bench in Lake County, but the fact is that it's under a different system than everybody else has to deal with. I think that's the thing.
We were taking Lake County, Allen County, Marion County, St. Joseph County were taken hostage, basically. And then they put in this system called JNC. And there's some people that benefit from the JNC.
Sure.
There's people that are on the JNC that don't want this to end because they have this little power thing. And they don't think about the bigger picture is, why does only Lake County have a JNC? They don't think about that because they're entrenched in the JNC. So even in Lake County, we have people that are like, hey, man, it's cool. It's like when the British were running America, we had sympathizers with the crown. They're like, hey, man, the crown's cool. Why? Because I got some shit. And I don't want this to go away because the crown is good to me. Like,
why? Power.
Right?
I'm the provincial governor.
So even in Lake County, we have people that are like on the JNC. They're like, dude, don't mess with this. I'm good. You know me. I could give you, I could help you out. It's like, dude, this is not the way it's supposed to work. The voters are supposed to pick this. Because they do it in 88 of the 92 counties.
That's right. Or flip it around, make 92 JNCs, and we'll see how that goes. And you know what'll happen?
That won't go
very well because a lot of small counties will be like, wait a minute.
What? We want to elect our judges here, right?
So wait, when was that committee actually created?
The 70s.
Yeah,
the 70s. And was there
your whole life?
Well, more than my whole life.
I agree.
But was there something that caused them to? Was there an incident?
I think it was
something,
corruption.
Or?
So at the time, the argument was that let's take politics out of the judges, but they only did it in certain counties.
Yeah, like take politics out of the judges. And by the way, back in the day, Lake County was even way worse than it ever has been during my career. But back then, and there were some judges that got in trouble. Mm-hmm. That happens. Politicians get in trouble all the time. There's politicians in trouble across the state of Indiana. But what they did in Lake County was, hey, that's it. We're not electing judges here anymore, which is against the Voting Rights Act, which is against the U.S. Constitution, which is against the Indiana Constitution. But that doesn't matter because they were in charge. So
yeah, it's an interesting history and issue, and you can go back and look. And I mean, the idea was we're going to make a more diverse bench through a JNC. We're going to make a more, but I would argue that whether you're African American or white or Hispanic, if in Lake County, if you run, you have a chance of winning.
Yeah,
right? I mean, it's not just
all races are successful in Lake County.
Yeah,
right.
We have a Hispanic sheriff. We have a African American assessor.
African American assessor, Hispanic clerk of the courts, right? Mm-hmm. We have a
So-
Polish lady running the circuit court.
Running you.
100% Polish, according to 23andMe, and running 7134 Knickerbocker Parkway, Hammond, Indiana.
We'll see what happens.
Right.
All right.
Ads.
Let's do some more ads. We're going to come back and talk about one of our other favorite senators, Mike Braun.
Oh, yeah. This is a good one. You're going to want to stick around for that. Challenger Learning Center. The holiday season is here. Challenger Learning Center invites families to celebrate the season with a full show of classic holiday hits, all set to laser lights, all aglow. The Holiday Laser Show takes place on Friday, December 17th at 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. Tickets are $12 and must be purchased in advance. Visit clcnwi.com. That's clcnwi.com, or connect on social media at Challenger NWI on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Tortillas Nuevo Leon is the gold standard of Mexican cuisine throughout the Midwest. Look for Tortillas Nuevo Leon's popular red and white label at your local grocery store and enjoy quality Mexican products made with local expertise.
Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia de todo corazón. Tortillas Nuevo León, hechas con amor, para ti y tu familia, de todo corazón.
Hey, John.
Yep.
Did you hear the last episode when I did the Tortillas Nuevo Leon read set to the lyrics of the song? That was on the spot, dude. That was
Well, your Spanish wasn't that good.
no, but like
You're like,
the way I read the article, I was like, Tortillas Nuevo Leon is the gold standard of Mexican cuisine throughout the Midwest.
Let's review
Look for
it.
Tortillas. It was really good.
Let's hear it again.
It was worth hearing. It was worth clipping. You know what I'm saying? If we're gonna do commercial clips,
There you go.
That one was worth clipping.
I had someone
And
text
what if we
me.
never read this every week?
I agree.
See?
What's that, John?
I had someone text me and ask if that was me that did that read.
Wow.
So they
kidding?
must only listen
Are
to
you
the
kidding?
pod,
Yeah,
literal pod on Apple. And I said, no, that was Tom.
the locomotive.
Well, we know you got a good voice, John.
It's just, I've never had someone think it was, my voice was Tom.
Why don't you do
Tom.
misprint? We'll compare it.
Yeah, okay. You want to throw me that ad?
No, I don't. Here you go.
All right.
Here we go. John Vesmer.
Misprint.
Here we go.
It starts
we
with
go.
an M.
Get the pipes ready.
Oh my goodness.
Gotta wet the
boy.
lips.
Oh, my God. We're going to run out of time.
Mailbag.
Misprint specializes in delivering the highest quality signs and printing, on time and within budget. Misprint's experience and technology allows them to offer custom, commercial, on-demand printing and sign solutions you can count on. Rick Bolzenberger and his team have served Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana for over 30 years. Misprint has 2 convenient locations in Munster and Hammond.
Yeah.
That's the best read we've ever had on
Welcome
this
to
damn
NPR.
podcast.
Why did our listeners just go down?
Yeah, it went down. Rick Baldensberger just texted me and asked me to never do that again. I'm sorry, Rick.
Mayor Joe had a good. That was a clip. Mayor Joe.
Yeah, that was a clip.
That was great. When
That
he
was
was
great.
Like, guess what I just saw?
He like recited the misprint.
printing.
Rick
Baltzberger.
Baltzberger.
I was like, Mayor Joe, you are such a fan.
We were pounding
like,
it into people's heads,
You
obviously.
are such a fan. I
There's-
love that.
I was just complaining about our commercials right before we got on the air
Yeah.
about how we do the same ads all the time.
But they're fun.
For the ones that are getting their ads continuously talked about, it's a
It proves
steal.
its point. Mayor Joe proved the point.
And by the way, we're obviously undercharging because we don't even have enough money to pay our goddamn taxes on LOCPOD. So
Byway Brewing.
Let's go dump some tea in the
Is
lake.
a family-friendly microbrewery with a spacious tap room and outside patio. Brewing equipment offers a unique backdrop for your private event, like weddings, reunions, and corporate parties. They're conveniently located just off of 8094 at the Kennedy Avenue South exit. Come on by and enjoy Byway's award-winning beers and unbeatable menu.
So 2016, a good friend of ours, dear friend of ours, Joe Donnelly.
Alongside by John.
Is it 2018? Excuse me. Joe Donnelly is running for re-election to the U.S. Senate, and Joe Donnelly is a friend of mine going back to 24 when he first ran for Congress. That's when I met Joe. I knew his wife before then because his wife worked in the University of Notre Dame. Marissa and I both knew Joe before we knew who would ultimately become the senator, and now he's about to become an ambassador to the Vatican.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So anyway, Joe's running, and as it turns out, this is a bad story we're going to tell you, but it has a happy ending because Joe Donnelly is going to be an ambassador to the Vatican. So don't feel bad for Joe. Okay,
Joe's
'Cause
doing fine.
Things turned out pretty well for Senator Donnelly. Okay, but we're going to talk about
Well
Senator
deserved, by the
Braun,
way.
a guy that stole the U.S. Senate seat. He literally stole it. He broke the law and stole Indiana's junior seat.
What a Grinch.
Right. But still, like, I know what happens to Democrats in Lake County when they violate FEC laws, when they violate federal laws. I know what happens to them because I've seen plenty go to jail and for decades, for years. And I always knew that there was a double standard in Indiana. And I tell you what, if nothing happens to Senator Braun, it's a perfect, crystal clear example of a double standard. If you're a Republican, you're less likely to go to federal prison than if you're a Democrat.
Well, I would note that the federal courts in Indiana probably don't have jurisdiction over this. It's probably D.C. with FEC, I would think. So,
but
I'd be curious to see who has jurisdiction.
Yeah, but
who's got jurisdiction over FEC?
Do you think it's the
D.C.
U.S. Attorney?
Circuit, D.C.
Oh, you
District
think it's
Court?
the U.S.
Maybe.
U.S. Attorney?
Maybe. I don't know.
I was thinking it's. Well, I know the Democratic Party asked the Southern District to investigate it.
Okay, yeah, maybe they do because that's where
that's where he lives.
Campaign.
The campaign was the treasurer was out of there.
Yep, maybe that's what.
Right.
So tell the story. Yeah. What?
So anyway, so Mike Braun in 2018 in a hotly contested race. It was hundreds of millions of dollars spent on this race, mostly
decided by 120,000 votes.
Beats Joe Donnelly by 120,000 votes, which is actually really close in such a big race.
Yeah, at a 2 whatever million votes.
2.5 million votes. Basically, Senator Braun is now being accused by the FEC of using $8 million of his own corporate money to finance his campaign. And let me tell you something, as a federal candidate, you can't use a single penny or a single dollar from a corporation, INC, basically, Tom McDermott Incorporated. If I had a business such as that, you cannot use a penny from that business.
And that's been around
legally.
for about 100 years.
Yeah. This is something that's just basic. By the way, in Indiana, even with state money, there's restriction on corporate money.
Yep.
You're limited to $2,000 a year in corporate money, and it's a pain in the ass. It really doesn't make a lot of sense in the state because people from LLCs and LLPs can give you unlimited. So if you have a corporation, you're like, do you have an LLC? They're like, yeah. It's like, okay, if you donate money in Indiana to a candidate, you can only do $2,000 from a corporation, but you can write a check for $1 million from an LLC. It's stupid.
Whereas federally, any type of corporate entity, you have to use individual funds, personal funds.
Right. Yeah. So that theoretically, and then you have super PACs, and that's beyond the discussion, which is another dumb loophole that needs to be tightened up. And I would love to tighten that up as your U.S. senator, but that's another discussion. So everybody worth a salt and everybody worth a lick in politics knows you can't accept contributions from a corporation, even in state where there's hardly any restrictions. You can only accept $2,000, but in federal, everybody just knows you can't accept a penny, right? $8 million Braun takes from his corporation and gives it to his campaign account in the middle of a heated contest with Joe Donnelly. And quite frankly, he may not even won the primary if he doesn't cheat and uses $8 million of corporate money. Now, what happens to a guy, Kevin?
I mean, it's an agency, right? So the question is that going to end up being like, oh, you got to come before the Federal Election Commission and pay a fine or this or that, or is it criminal? And I don't know. I mean,
it's criminal.
Yeah,
It's criminal. Like, what the heck? He stole a Senate seat. It's a U.S. Senate seat. There's only 100 of these in the country. All right, 300-something million people. We have 100 U.S. senators. This guy blatantly violates the law. I mean, individual contributions are limited at $2,900. He used $8 million of illegal money to funnel into his campaign, and he got caught.
It's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out, because what they're saying is that he made improper loans to the tune of about $7 million in direct loans and lines of credit to the campaign that were improper because they didn't appear to be made in the ordinary course of business, meaning like it seems like, why didn't you have to put any collateral up? Why did the bank just give you the money, right? That's the $7 million. And then there's $1.5 million of funds that, as you mentioned, Tom, look to be corporate contributions that he somehow funneled to himself and then made it, said it was from him.
Right.
So it's really going to be interesting how it plays out, because there's got to be somewhere between the black and the white in this. I mean, it's interesting. It's really interesting.
Another interesting thing, John. Did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
I was just reading this as you guys are talking. I mean, that's a lot of money. Like, how much money was the race in total?
Probably
tens of millions, yeah.
No, I think
a couple $100 million.
I think it's probably north of $100 million. Because think about that race, Kevin. There was every
I'm
day.
trying to remember.
There was commercials on both sides.
Oh, with the super PACs for sure.
The super PACs, yeah. The RNCC jumped in. The DNCC jumped in.
DSCC,
of course,
right.
DSCC, and then you had the two local candidates and all their money putting in, and then like the special interest groups that cared about the U.S. Supreme Court or didn't want certain people on the U.S. Supreme Court. Everybody was involved in that race. I would bet you. If you can look it up real quick, I bet you it's more like 200 million.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
the Daily Beast, this guy Roger Sullenberger broke the story, and it's really interesting. I don't know if it's going to get much traction. I saw that the Times ran a story on it eventually. And
But the thing is, Braun, without that $8 million infusion that was illegal, Braun may not even win the primary. So, like, not only did he steal a primary, and then he ultimately became the victor.
I wonder when that came in.
It came in early.
It came in before
it had
the
to
primary.
come in when he had no money.
Interesting.
Why would you bring it in when you had tons of money?
Right.
He brought it in early, and it was illegal.
That'd be interesting. I don't know when that came. That's interesting, Tom, because you're right. If it came in pre-primary, that's really interesting.
Oh, so by the way, Braun's response to all this is
This is great.
It's a staffer's fault.
A staffer that quote unquote vanished.
Yeah, and then this reporter that wrote this story found the staffer in 30 minutes on social media. By the way, Braun's not looking too hard for him.
No,
but basically he's like, "Oh, it's the treasurer's fault." No, Mike. First off, I'm like taking a step back. Why does? Because let's say I had $10 million of wealth just sitting in a bank account. I don't. I wish I did. Maybe one day, right? But anyway, if I had this sum of money, I could literally take my $10 million and put it in my federal campaign account and use every single penny of it.
that's right. You can self-donate.
Right. Like Donald
campaign.
Trump. He didn't need to raise money the first time. He just put his own money in, right?
A lot of it,
So there's
yeah.
no limit to that. You could do as much as you want if it's your own wealth.
And you hear about that happening, by the way, with campaigns.
So why doesn't Mike Braun, this super rich guy with a multi-million-dollar corporation, just use his own money, right? Well, this is the thinking I have. He knows he has this money sitting in his corporate account, right? And if he accepts that corporate money directly into Mike Braun's personal account, you get taxed. I don't know, 30-something% of that money goes to Uncle Sam. And I imagine a guy like Mike Braun hates Uncle Sam and doesn't want to lose a penny to him, right? So he's like, hey, I got this complex scheme where I'm not going to get taxed by the IRS, but I still get to use this nest egg, right? Which was flat illegal. And he's going down, man. He should go down, and there should be an open U.S. Senate seat before Mike Braun. And maybe even next year, there's an open Senate seat that we're running for because this guy cheated and he won, and he's a disgrace to Indiana politics, and he's a disgrace to the U.S. Senate. This guy, Mike Braun, is a disgrace. He stole a U.S. Senate seat.
So, like, how far from this is what, like, Blagojevich did? Like, is it?
Blagojevich threatened to do something. That's a difference, and I appreciate that question, Joe.
Good question.
It is a good question. Blagojevich talked about extorting people for the U.S. Senate seat. He talked about it. He didn't actually do it. Am I right on that?
Yeah, I mean, I
remember.
It was like a lot of bluster.
This is fucking gold, he said.
Yeah.
This is fucking gold. This U.S. Senate seat, you know how much we can get for this U.S. Senate seat. And they were taping him, and they put him away for that. And he actually didn't.
14 years.
He didn't extort anybody. He actually talked about extorting somebody, and they were like, that was good enough, right? Mm-hmm. Mike Braun stole a seat. He broke the law. Fact. He should go down. He should go down now. He should be indicted within the next week, in my opinion. This guy is a fraud.
Takes a little bit of time.
He's
to
a
get
fraud.
out of the info.
He is a fraud. Mike Braun, U.S. Senator, is a fraud. He stole a U.S. Senate seat from the state of Indiana, and he beat a great guy, Joe Donnelly, who deserved to be reelected. And if Joe Donnelly was in the U.S. Senate, America would be in a better place because he's a good guy. You know how good of a guy he is? He's the U.S. ambassador to the Pope. That's how good of a guy he is. And we beat him with this fraud, Mike Braun. It's bullshit. Mike Braun deserves to be indicted for this.
Mike's favorite up, the locomotive is fired up.
No, man, it's BS, man. I'm personally offended as an American because guys like Joe Donnelly shouldn't go down to a guy that cheats, Mike Braun, a guy that stole that seat. And Joe Donnelly is obviously a good guy because he wouldn't be the representative to the Pope if he wasn't.
Man, you got to be wondering what Donnelly was thinking when he read this.
Oh,
Donnelly's
so mad.
Oh,
I've talked to Senator recently about just congratulations and stuff like that. He's in a wonderful mood. His life is great. He's a wonderful guy. He doesn't give a crap about this stuff. He doesn't. He doesn't care about
Like,
Mike Braun, the fraud.
I was senator for 6 years. I'm good.
Yeah. He's obviously doing
I don't
well.
have to worry about getting ripped for
He's
who I'm going to vote
teaching
for
at Notre
the Supreme
Dame,
Court.
right? He's teaching at Notre Dame. He's a partner in a law firm. The president of the United States appoints him to the U.S. ambassador to the Vatican.
Yeah.
I think Joe Donnelly's going to be just fine. Okay? Mike Braun's a fraud, though. Let's be honest. Okay?
See how quick he switches?
Mike Braun is a fraud. He doesn't.
It was shocking when I read it. It really was
It
shocking.
was shocking to me, too, Kevin, because it's so blatant. It's so blatant what he did.
it does look blatant, and it doesn't look good.
I just don't know. I mean, I wonder what kind of traction it's going to get. We'll find out.
It should. I'm glad that the Indiana Democratic Party is banging on him. I don't think we should let up on the war drums at all. I think we should, and that includes Tom McDermott, U.S. Senator. I should talk about this kind of stuff on the campaign trail because, this shows a lot about that whole party. It really does.
Do you know if Biden has filled? So remember, like the thing with Trump was he didn't even fill the FEC board, so there couldn't be like a quorum or whatever.
Yes, that's true.
Has those seats been filled?
Good question. I don't know the answer to that, John. That's a great question.
That is a great.
Trump was like, well, they just can't even take action on anything because there's no board.
I love that strategy. So if there's like the Board of Works is going to do something in Hammond and I don't like what they're doing, I'm recalling everybody.
Just
on
don't fill the
Don't
board.
fill the board. They can't meet. No quorum.
There's just like one person there, like I can't meet.
John, I forgot about that.
I love
That is
that.
exactly true. I
See?
remember going to a seminar and them saying like, yeah, we really don't have a board right now.
That's some wild stuff, man. Anyway,
The good old days of chaos.
the good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are we gonna
I
do?
miss those mean tweets.
Oh, boy, I don't. Although I did see an article saying that taking Trump off Twitter is bad for democracy because
Wow.
it doesn't get people fired up anymore.
Yeah.
I think people are fired up.
I
enough.
think I'm fine with him not on. Well,
I love everybody. Thanks for listening to LOCPOD.
Wrap it up.
Another successful episode. Happy birthday again, Jill. It's great to see you. I'm early. Your birthday's in January, right?
Yeah.
I'm way early. I was anticipating the break that we're taking.
Oh,
And I
you're
was
number
just-
one.
By the time we get back on, it'll be your birthday.
There
And
you
I
go.
was out there early. So happy early birthday. Jay Vez, thank you, man. Again, another great show. Kate Chandler, thank you, sir.
you're welcome.
Appreciate that. It's coming from the 127th ranked podcast in Ghana. We appreciate you here. It's a locomotive signing off. See you next week.